How's it going, everybody? Carlos Pazzi here, Drumming for All. Just a quick reminder, Drumming for All is a nonprofit that takes in donations to pay for drum lessons and equipment for drummers around the world that can't afford them. Please consider joining our team by subscribing. Something small and monthly goes a really long way. We're getting drums and equipment out to these students. We're getting them lessons. The program is growing, and it's by drummers for drummers. So you're watching this video, which means you're a drummer. Please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Join our team. Let's help get some of the rest of the drummers around the world the things that they need that we are lucky enough to have. Okay, let's get to it. This is an Ask a Teacher segment. We haven't done one in a while, and this one's going to be a little bit different. We are answering a ton of questions that we got on one of the threads that our fearless leader Tyler had started, and so it was, if you could ask a teacher anything, what would it be? We got a lot of great questions. Let's get through some of these. Sorry, one last thing before we start. In the description, there are timestamps for all of the questions, so feel free, if you know the answer to some of these and you want to scroll, you can see the timestamps. So let's do it. So first question, and I love this one. This was the first question on the thread, but it's also like one of my favorite questions. What is a polyrhythm? So here is the link to the video that I made answering this question. But if you want just kind of a basic breakdown of what is a polyrhythm, maybe you're not even really ready for that question fully, so you want to just take a little bite of it. If you know your rhythms, your quarter notes, your eighth notes, your 16th notes, your, all the triplets, if you know those rhythms, then the idea of a polyrhythm is just more than one of those played at the same time. And we could just leave it at that if we wanted, but the slightly more complex, version of that is that it doesn't count if the two notes are divisible, is like the right way to explain it. So let's say these are quarter notes, and then these are eighth notes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Even though those are two rhythms playing simultaneously, that doesn't count as a polyrhythm because the easy way to think about it is that they're equal. So at no point is there like an uneven number of notes being played simultaneously. So they're both playing at the same time, and then there's one in the middle, and then they're both playing at the same time. Mathematically speaking, they're divisible. So it doesn't count as a polyrhythm because they, again, mathematically speaking, they are divisible. So a polyrhythm would be two rhythms that are non-divisible. So again, think about your fractions. It's all about fractions when it comes to music theory and rhythm theory. 2 over 3 is non-divisible. In school, the teacher would be satisfied with that final fraction, 2 over 3. You wouldn't break it down any farther than that. So if you think about what the number 2 and the number 3 would represent in terms of rhythms, that's probably going to be a triplet, right? It's the number 3. So imagine eighth notes and triplets played simultaneously. That's a polyrhythm, okay? Because the numbers are non-divisible and they don't feel even and consistent all the time. It feels weird, right? And broken up. So there's a basic explainer for the polyrhythm. Again, watch that video talking about the polyrhythm in depth, and we also go into what are polymeters in that video as well. It's a two-parter, so watch those videos. All right, next question. Let's see here. Can you make me? I wish I could have pronounced his name. Josiah. Let's go with that. I apologize if I butchered it. He said, "Can you make me play more than you, teacher?" Yeah, you probably all play more than me. I haven't been practicing much lately. But no, I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. Next question. Easiest way to learn how to count and play in odd time signatures. Great question, Saul. So that's a great question. Let's actually do like a full explainer here. Let's actually open this up and let's talk about it. So the question is about time signatures, right? How do you get better at counting in odd time signatures? Okay, so this goes a little bit into the theory of time signatures, but let's bring in, I like 7, 8. Let's bring in 7 over 8. Okay, so the easiest answer to this is to know how to count in the different time signatures. That makes a huge difference. And so in the case of 7 over 8, you are giving the eighth note the count. When people talk about the eighth note gets the beat or the quarter note gets the beat. That's what they mean. I've always hated the word beat if you've seen any of my videos. So I don't use the word beat, but that's essentially what they're saying. So if you were going to count eighth notes in this measure 1/8, you wouldn't count them the normal way you count eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and because that's over 4. It's over 8, so you give the eighth note that count, the quarter note count, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I fill this with eighth notes, how many eighth notes am I going to be able to fill in this measure? Surprise, surprise. I can fit 7 of them in this measure because it's 7/8. That's saying that this measure fits 7 eighth notes. That's how big the measure is. So obviously, quick reminder, the time signature changes the size of the measure. So you can fit 7 eighth notes in this measure. And so the simplest way to start with this, which is like essentially the question, is to count these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can imagine playing any beats, or even just starting really simple. Again, the question is about how do you do this in a basic sense. So start with 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? I mean, you could do that across the kit, forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, yeah, easiest way to learn how to count and play in odd time signatures is pick a time signature, give that, whatever that is, that individual count, right? So if you're going to count, if 7's going to be your time signature, then count in 7s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then try to turn it into beat form. Another great way, by the way, of course, for Saul to learn how to do this is to send me an email at carlospazadrums@gmail.com. Your first 2 30-minute lessons are free because you are a member of the drummers community, and that goes out to all of you. Tyler and I have kind of teamed up to give you guys this great opportunity to ask me an hour's worth of questions. And sometimes it turns into continued drum lessons. It has happened already. I have some students who I met just through the drummers community, and they got their 2 free lessons. They were very happy with my teaching, and we have continued doing lessons. So, that is something as well that we offer. All right, let's go to the next question. What is the difference between rudiments and paradiddles? Cheers, Steve. The paradiddle is one of the rudiments. So the question, what is the difference between them, is kind of a strange question, but really the way to think about it is that the paradiddle is one of the rudiments. So that's like asking what's the difference between the letter A and the alphabet. It's like, well, that's weird, right? The letter A is one of the letters of the alphabet. So the paradiddle is just one of the rudiments. Next question. Michael asks, how do I improve ghost notes? So this is a great question. Let me bring the practice pad out and let's talk about it. So, got my practice pad. The question is, how do we improve ghost notes? So, the first question is, what is a ghost note? A ghost note is obviously much quieter than your standard note or an accent. But the real trick to the ghost note is in the grip. The real trick to drumming is in the technique. And so for the ghost note, you can't really go full molar, which you can see here in this shot if you're looking at this hand. You can't go full molar where you're getting a big bounce out of it, because it's hard to do a really quiet note where you're taking advantage of the bounce. It needs to be kind of without bounce, right? It needs to have a very low angle, so you need to be like right on top of the drum. And you need to watch your grip, okay? So you really need to hold onto the stick when you're doing this. This isn't the same as, like I said, this isn't molar, okay? This isn't like you're playing fast. It's a really quick, really tight in the grip snap, okay? Tight grip. So I'm hesitant to tell students to just like grab the heck out of it, but yeah, you need a tight grip for a ghost note. You need to be low, and you don't want to stab the drum because you get a buzz roll, which is obviously not the goal if you're just trying to do a ghost. You don't want to buzz it. You want to be nice, closed grip, and you want to just give it a little tap. So to improve the ghost note, you can actually do what is an exercise that you can use to practice the molar method, but it's tap, ghost, tap, ghost. I know some drummers will not like the way I'm explaining that, but for the sake of the ghost note exercise, you can do this. You tap, but instead of going for the bounce, you tap and then you hit your ghost. And then you hit again, and then you hit your ghost. You're already down here because you choked out the stick, and then you tap. Okay, accent, ghost, accent, ghost. Okay, another great way is to work on accenting and then ghosting. It's a double stroke, and I'll show. So it's right here. Accent, ghost, accent, ghost. So it's a double stroke. Okay. Sorry. So it's a double stroke, but where you're ghosting the second note, and then the opposite of that is actually the original double stroke roll that they came out with in 1930, whatever, and that's ghost tap. So the original double stroke was ghost tap, ghost tap. This was the original double stroke roll when it first came out. I think it was called the long roll. So the first note's the ghost. Okay, that helps a lot. That's a really, really tough rudiment, and you're working on your ghost notes. Besides that, obviously, any beat that has a ghost note in it, look for, Red Hot Chili Peppers. These guys have a lot of ghost notes in there. Everybody's going to get mad at me because I didn't name their favorite band. But the Chili Peppers, great example of a ton of ghost notes. Excellent question. Let's move on to the next one. Next question by Alfred. Why do you teach instead of actually performing? Before COVID, I was in a cover band. I like performing, but I do love it occasionally. So the problem is, if you are going to perform, you really have to be dedicated because you're probably in a band with a bunch of people that are dedicated to performing. I couldn't be that dedicated. I'm dedicated to working from home in my friggin' sweatpants. You know what I mean? So I was in the cover band. We played like maybe one show every 2 weeks or something like that. A little bit of money in my pocket, and it's fun to play out. But the reason why I teach instead of spending all my time performing is because of that. I'm not dedicated to performing. I'm dedicated to staying home and playing with my kids. So it's not in the cards. Next question. So Ryan asked, is it bad that my sticks naturally start to move forward in my hands? Steven immediately chimed in, agreeing. Okay, so what's the deal with that? Steven says the faster he drums, the sticks start to slide forward. I would imagine what he meant, instead of the stick sliding forward, is maybe his hand sliding forward. But it's the same issue. Somebody also came in and commented, and so I'm going to repeat for the most part what that gentleman said. It's all about the grip. It's all about the fulcrum. Okay, it's all about this pivot point. So if you're too loose here, okay, in the pivot point, then it's going to slide, because these fingers, even though they're making contact with the stick here and there, these fingers are a little bit more complicated. This is not complicated. This grip is forever. Okay, the thumb's on there, the index finger is on there. The index finger, depending on who you are, is either more tucked under or more off to the side, right? But the index finger is helping to keep the stick traveling in a straight line. These fingers are slightly on, slightly off. It depends. But this is forever. So the problem with you guys and anybody else who has this problem is that this part of the grip is not tight enough. You're treating these two fingers the way you're treating all the fingers. You're either going like this or you're going like this, right? It's either super tight all the way across or super loose all the way across. This needs to be tight and this needs to be loose, okay? So any other questions about that, send me an email, carlspuzzledrums@gmail.com. Get your 2 free lessons. We can talk about some exercises and stuff that you can do to fix that. But it's strictly a fulcrum issue. It's just about how tight you're holding here, right? This will never go away. This will never stop if you're holding tight enough. But you're just approaching it like your whole hand is going to grab it tight, and so then you can't get a bounce. You can't get all kinds of stuff. So here's your problem. Next question. All right, so I can't do all these questions. We got a ton of questions, so we might do kind of like a series of these. So maybe we'll take 1 or 2 more, but this one I thought was super funny and I wanted to include it. So Nate asks, do the parents 1099 you, 1099 being like a miscellaneous form, or do you take that under the table. So what I told Nate in the comments was I am a registered LLC. Drumming for All is obviously a separate entity. I have my own LLC, which is a for-profit. You pay me to teach you drums. I put that money in my pocket. Actually, I give it to my wife, and but that's a different story. And then the Drumming for All program is a nonprofit, so that's totally separate. Relative to his question, I am a registered LLC. I pay my taxes as a business. And the thread, if you go back and you read it, you'll see that Nate and I were going back and forth a little bit because I told him, no, I'm a registered LLC. I pay my taxes. And he said, that, I'd rather take the money under the table. And so what I told him was, the studio that you see here behind you and this ridiculous computer that you can probably hear through the microphone that is just an absolute animal of PC. All of this was because when COVID hit, they were giving small business loans. And I got one because I had been a registered LLC for, I think it was like 5 or 6 years. You had to be registered. So everything you see here would not have been possible if I didn't play the government's game of not doing everything under the table. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, well, let's end it with a funny one. How can you stop the bass player from jumping on your riser and crashing his head on your ride? Why would you want to do that? Bassist's gonna bass. Fool's gonna fool. Goof's gonna goof. My bass player, before he was in a motorcycle accident, died, was brought back to life, and doesn't really play bass anymore. He would do all kinds of goofy stuff on stage, and I would happily let him. So you do not stop the bass player from jumping on the riser and crashing his head into your ride. He is the other half of the rhythm section of which you are a part. Show some respect, okay? Let him do what he wants to do. Is the crowd entertained? Let it be. Okay, don't get so mad, Kurt. Okay, that's your brother. All right, so let's leave it at that. We will continue with this. I like this. Some of these questions are funny. Some of them are great. And so we will continue doing this segment. Let me just say it one more time. 2 things. Again, you're seeing a lot of me, and I appreciate you guys watching these videos. I run the Drumming for All program, where we pay for drum lessons and equipment for drummers around the world, like Michael in Ghana, who cannot afford them. And I do private lessons. The first 2 30-minute lessons are free if you are a member of the drummers community. So reach out, let me know. I will be keeping a close eye on this thread in this YouTube video. So comment down below with any other questions, and I will take those questions and I will put them towards the next one of these, because we have a bunch of these. So please put some questions down below. If you think some of my answers were stupid, tell me that my answers were stupid. I'll allow it. All right, guys, have a good one.